Welcome to Copytraders Club, where you can learn how to make more money copy trading. I'm Gavin McCauley, my name and username on eToro. You can continue the conversation on Discord and Facebook. If you like this podcast and want to see it continue, you can do your part by recommending it to one person or group of people this week. Today, we talk with an inspirational female PI who has come a long way both in life and in her eToro career. Here we go. Episode 42 of Copytraders Club. And this week, we talk to Sharon Connolly, a British expat living in Australia, who brings her own unique style to the eToro platform. And I can see her now bringing her own unique style to the Copytraders Clubhouse. Here she comes. Sharon, g'day. Welcome to Copytraders Club.
Hello. So pleased to be here.
Well, we're very pleased to have you. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in order to get past reception here at the Copytraders Clubhouse, you have to answer a series of quickfire questions. Ready for those?
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm up for it.
Username on eToro.
Sharon Connolly.
Date you joined eToro.
2013.
Date you became a popular investor.
Can't remember.
Year of birth.
1968. I should lie about that one.
Place of residence.
Sydney, Australia.
Profession.
Change manager.
Briefly state what you aim to achieve on eToro.
Early, comfortable retirement.
Name one of your investing heroes.
I don't have any. I'm my own investing hero.
Name one of your favourite investing books.
The Barefoot Investor.
That completes the formalities. Let's proceed into the VIP section here at the clubhouse. The magnificent Copytraders Lounge awaits you.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's stunning.
Oh, we're not there yet, so I'll delete that.
Oh, the entrance hall is stunning.
Sharon Connolly, are you ready for this magical transition?
I'm not sure. Does it come with wine?
So now here we are, Sharon.
It is stunning. Is somebody bringing me champagne really soon?
I'll get Yasmin onto it. Yasmin, champagne, please. Okay. So I'm very interested to talk to you today, Sharon, since you have a fantastic story and you are one of the most open book PIs that I've come across. You share very honest personal information and you hope this helps to inspire others.
Yes, that's right.
So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Right, so let's get to know you. You're in Australia, but as the accent gives away, you're from the UK, correct?
That's right, yeah. If I go back to the UK or if I speak to people in the UK, they say, oh, you sound so Aussie, but I think I'm still British through and through.
Yeah, I can tell you have a UK accent, but there's definite hints of Australification, if that's a word.
Yeah.
So you're from the UK, but with a surname like Connolly, you must have a bit of Irish in you.
I used to be married to an Irish man. Yes, in actual fact, I am still married to an Irish man. It's a different Irish man, but I am still married to an Irish man.
Oh, this conversation is taking a strange turn. What is it about Irish men that attracts you so?
Well, the current one, we didn't realize until very recently that he was actually Irish. He went and traced his family back and found that he was Irish. So I don't go seeking them out.
They just come to you.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the UK. You're very open about your humble beginnings. Tell us about those.
So I grew up just outside of Heathrow Airport, and my family, like I think a lot of young couples did in that day, was they moved into a caravan, like a mobile home. So what we would call a trailer park. With no running water, no heating, and that's where I spent my first 5 years. Not in a house. And my poor mum had three. She brought up three children. There was another one that came later, but my mum brought up three children living in a caravan.
And you were going to school and everything when you were living in the caravan?
That was until I was 5. So I lived there till I was 5. Then we moved a little way away into our first home, and that's when I started school.
Well, you've come a long way from that little schoolgirl walking along Hogfair Lane, eh?
Yes.
I saw someone, I think it was on your LinkedIn profile, you linked to your school name.
Yes, Burnham Grammar School. Yeah.
I looked that up on Google Maps.
I thought that was pretty spooky that you knew the road my school was on.
Well, did your school used to be the site of a pig market or something? Way back in...
I don't know about that one. Maybe, but...
Hogfair Lane.
Hogfair Lane was one of the roads that led to the school. I have no idea. Not looked that up. I may go and look now. Not right now. A bit later.
Okay.
You piqued my interest.
Okay, so now you're in Australia. What are the best things about life in Australia that the UK can't provide?
Well, not today, but normally the weather. It's a lot more relaxed, and I'm very lucky in where I live that I live very close to the water, but also really close to the city. So you've got this great sort of beach casual lifestyle that you would have on the coast in the UK, but I can walk to the city, or I take a ferry. I take a 10-minute ferry drive to be in the equivalent of the bustling centre of London and high finance. And we're just very laid back. I mean, the downside is that there's not many places that you can travel to like we can in the UK. But I love it here, and there's still a lot of Australia that I am keen to get out and see.
And your employer is AMP, which is a wealth management company with, in your words, the hippest, trendiest, most glamorous, most cultured, best equipped office boasting Sydney's best views.
It will be. It's under construction, so it's being built. It's been being built for 5 years now, and my role as a change manager is to move the 3,500 people at the current AMP site into this amazing new building.
And you've mentioned a couple of times that you're a change manager. I can hear the listener wondering what on earth that is. Can you tell us?
So it's a little bit like a project manager that organizes things in an office. But the change management side is that we really deal with people. So when anything is changing, so in this case, it happens to be people moving from one office location to another, or it could be people upgrading from one computer system to another. When something is changing, the change manager deals with the people aspect. So we deal with the communications, we listen to what you don't like or what you're worried about with the change, and we guide you through the change with training, communications, and just the help that you need to transition from wherever you were physically or using a system to wherever you're going to be.
It struck me that it could also be another term for a popular investor. You're managing other people's change.
Yeah, and I think this is why I do all the helping. You know, this is the explaining, the helping when somebody's struggling, instead of looking at somebody who is new to the platform and ask a question and they get pounced on by people saying, what a stupid, ridiculous question. And I think, no, it's somebody who is new and is trying to learn, and then I'll throw them a lifeline and give them an explanation in terms that they can understand. And I think that comes easy to me because that's what my job is.
Well, that's very nice. And we'll get on to that a little bit later, although I did mean change as in cash.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's a little bit late in the day. The humour's perhaps not firing on all cylinders.
Okay, so let's talk about how I came across you. I think it was possibly editor's choice, or at least as a result of the increase in your profile because of editor's choice.
Yeah.
I'd never seen you before, and suddenly you were quite high profile. You've been on the platform a long time prior to that, where you were very much below the radar, right?
Yeah. And I had no aspirations to become a popular investor. It was not something that I had thought about doing. I didn't know much about it. And my account manager at the time would call me and say, "Hey, Sharon, can we get people copying you? And would you like to be a popular investor?" And I would say, no, no, not at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just playing around here. I'm making a little bit of money. I'm not interested in having people copy me. And people did start to copy me. And I wasn't looking for it whatsoever. At all. For many years, I resisted it because I had no expertise in this area. I was getting the results, but I felt like it was luck more than anything else. And also, what I didn't realize, I had no idea that I was doing so much better than a lot of other people. I just assumed everybody was making 50, 60% a year. I didn't realize that I was unusual in the results that I was getting because I wasn't looking at what other people were doing. I was just looking at me and busy doing my own thing. And I had no idea what a popular investor was. And I had no idea that I was doing so well.
Well, we'll come on to your story on eToro a little bit later on. For now, I think the listener's keen to know what the explanation is for this sentence. Sprinkling unicorn dust on tired old things.
Yeah. Now, I could show you there's a unicorn there and I sprinkle unicorn dust on tired things. That's what I do. I'm creative. And again, this comes to a lot of the stuff that I do with change management is that people will send me a PowerPoint pack or a piece of communications that they've written, and I will think, that is dead boring. That needs some life in it. That needs some love. That needs some care. Let me give that a little bit of love. Let me make it more fabulous. And that's what I do in lots of areas of life.
Okay, so that could be described as one of your strengths. Let's get to know you slightly better by asking you to tell us something you're very bad at.
What am I bad at? I'm bad at focusing on one thing. I'm really multitasking. So when I'm trying to do focus busy work, there are other windows popped up. There are my eToro trades. There's somebody asking me a question about something. And then I'll pop downstairs and I'll start making a cake. I find it very hard to focus on one thing. So I guess that is a weakness. I have a big weakness for shoes too. Is that a weakness? I don't think that's a weakness.
I think we should call your husband in and ask.
Shh, he doesn't know about most of them.
Okay, let's have a question from the art of people. Can you pick a number between 1 and 10?
4.
What's the most exciting thing in your professional life right now?
Oh, everything in my professional life is exciting at the moment because we've got these people to move to a new building. So all of it is exciting. And also my job as a change manager is to make the stuff that's really boring, like we're going to need you to get a new access pass for the building. My job is to make that sound exciting so that people are really keen to follow the steps to get their new access pass. So this is the unicorn dust side of things as well, is that you have to make the boring exciting. When I've worked in things like risk management or regulatory change, you gotta find ways to engage your users and take them on a journey and make these things exciting, even if they're dead boring.
Thank you very much, Yasmin. Okay, Sharon, now that the champagne is here, we can get into some of the more meatier topics.
Oh, nicely chilled. Nicely chilled.
Can I ask you to begin by reading us some of your bio, please? Maybe the second, third, and fourth paragraphs.
Okay, so I'm a long-term growth investor with a fundamental common sense approach. I made my first trade in 2013 with just $25. I've learned a lot. I have an excellent track record and a growing diverse portfolio. I passed the CISI Level 3 International Investing and Wealth Management this year. Please be inspired by this. I was broke and knew nothing about trading when I made my first trade at age 43. I add to my portfolio every month for comfortable early retirement. I'm happy to help you learn about trading. I regularly post educational material and share my research. If you copy me, every time I add funds, you'll be prompted to add a little more, meaning you too will continue to accumulate your wealth and grow your investment.
Okay, great. Let's get into some of that. I should make a note here that throughout the course of this chat, a number of topics will arise, which are addressed in the Felix Falix review of you, Sharon. So that was great timing that he put that video out just a couple of weeks ago. It helps a lot with my research. So I'm a long-term growth investor with a fundamental common sense approach. We'll get into the specifics of your portfolio in a little while, but you own plenty of tech, hence the growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a long-term buy and hold, essentially, with a little bit of eToro required trimming. So you're an elite PI and just passed the CISI Level 3 exam. Congrats on that.
Yep.
How was it?
It was really hard. I found it very difficult. I don't have any formal qualifications. I have a couple of sort of basic change management qualifications, but most of what I do is very creative. Nearly everything I do in life is me taking an idea, running with it, making it my own, putting my own slant on things. This is nowhere in that exam. This is remember this stuff, study this stuff, take this stuff in, recite it back in exactly the same way that you've read it. And that is incredibly difficult for somebody like me that prefers to disagree with everything and say, well, hang on a minute, let's look at it in this way instead. Or how about we do it this way? I found it really tough, really tough. And a lot of it was new to me. And also, as I was going through it, a lot of it, I'm thinking, look, this is interesting, but this is not going to change or support the way that I trade or I support my copiers either.
Well, I don't know much about it myself, but there's a lot of sort of background to the whole world of finance and the structures within it and things like that, which you might never need to know again, like many tests. You know it for the test, produce it on the day, forget it.
Yeah, completely.
And it's multiple choice, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And is it multiple choice where they're trying to trip you up all the time?
A little bit, yeah. Not too bad, but there are times when you're looking at it and you're thinking, if you were able to ask somebody, if you could just have a chat with somebody and you could say, well, I think it's B, but it could be C because of this, that, and the other. And if you look at it in this way, yes, C could be applicable, and you've got none of that. You're sat there. And it's a really weird way to take it as well, because they do it remotely and you have to, I had to strip this whole room. You have to take all the books off the bookshelves. You have to take the pictures off the wall. You have to take your camera and show them I'm not kidding. You have to show them inside your ears, take your glasses off to make sure that you're not cheating, because there are so many financial calculations, mathematical calculations. So you're sat there and you can't have a glass of water. You can't write down things. You can't use a pen and paper. So it's quite a stressful environment as well.
And what was the most interesting aspect of the course?
I think that what I found interesting, which I wasn't really aware of before, the difference between a technical analysis and what I do, which is a fundamental analysis, and also a heuristic look at the market. There were names for what I do. And I didn't realize that I was doing a fundamental analysis. To me, this is a common sense approach to try to understand, look, I know what the stock price did last year or over the last 5 years, but I want to look at, what the management structure is like. I want to look at what is this company doing for their staff? What are their employment policies? How are they attracting talent? And I didn't realize that this was actually called, I didn't realize this was a thing. I thought that's just me using my common sense and my gut to think these guys are going places. Every company uses these products and they give really great service. And I thought that was quite interesting that some of the things that I was doing that just came natural to me actually had headings in the book. And I'm thinking, they're talking about me there. That's what I do.
And what was the element of it that was most foreign to you?
And the other thing that I tell you is really difficult and crazy is that a lot of the mathematical things, for example, working out standard deviation, working out things like future value of an investment, you have to do it from scratch on a calculator. You would never do that. You would pop open Excel and you would type in equals FV and you would create these things on Excel. And I thought that it was crazy and very difficult to work them out from scratch, because when was the last time most people used a calculator to do any of those complex calculations? When I was at school, when I was 14? The last time that I had to figure out how to work out the square root of something, I was probably 14. So I found that whole mathematical piece pretty difficult and frustrating. Now, I'm an MVP, a Microsoft professional. I'm really good at Excel. I'm really, really good at that. And to have to not use a fantastic tool was really frustrating and quite difficult.
Okay, moving on. Let me give a quick summary of your story and you tell me if any of this is correct, if any of this is incorrect. You got a voucher from eToro to buy $25 of Facebook, invested it without too much thought, and the next time you checked it, it had multiplied.
That's right.
And you thought, wow, that's magic.
Yeah.
Your interest and involvement grew from there. You started investing little bits of money that you'd saved or not spent elsewhere. That recalls your reading recommendation, The Barefoot Investor, a little bit.
I hadn't read that then. Probably only read that about 3 years ago.
Well, it was one of the first audiobooks I ever listened to, actually.
Oh.
And it's very Aussie-centric, really.
It is. And it's very basic.
Yeah. It's about getting your personal finances together.
Yeah.
And allocating excess cash to intelligent uses, which it sounds like what you were doing.
Mm.
If I was eToro's advertising arm, I would be kicking down your door, to get you in makeup. And here's Sharon's story, how it all began. It's a fantastic tale. But unfortunately, they seem to be targeting young male motor mechanics and the like, focusing on the young male demographic for a change. I'm sure you have your thoughts on that, and we're certainly going to come on to that in a later part of the chat. I also heard you saying on the interview with Marvin Guermo that you have a very simple approach. You feel it's a very simple approach. You invest for the long term. You invest regularly, especially when the prices dip, and you recommend copiers to do the same. And you don't freak out when volatility occurs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just invest in what you know. Invest in what you know. And I think that most people don't realize that they are already investing. In Australia, we call it super. In the US, it's your 401. If you have any type of fund, you are already investing. You're already investing, but people are not opening the lid and looking at it every day. They put their money in once a year, or they pay in regularly to their pension, and they leave somebody else to look after it. What they don't realize is on a daily basis, it's doing what our eToro stocks are doing. It's going up and down. There's volatility. There's a roller coaster. And depending on the risk strategy that they've discussed with their financial planner, it may be more or less volatile. That's happening. They just don't see it. But when you go onto a platform like eToro, it's there in front of you every day. And people panic. Whoa, have I made a big mistake? Whoa, should I put it in Microsoft instead of Google? Should I sell your pension, your super, your 401, whatever it is? It's there and it's just growing. And you, to some degree, with eToro, need to do the same if you're investing. Obviously not if you're trading, because then you are watching the things like a hawk and you're deciding to sell and leverage and hedge and all of this other stuff that I don't do. But if you're using any platform like eToro to invest, you need to decide whether you're doing that passively, whether you're doing it actively, and you need to leave it alone and enjoy the volatility, expect the volatility.
You mentioned there that you like to invest in what you know and what is popular, things that you understand and you use in your daily life. Very One Up on Wall Street. Have you read that?
No, but I do know that is Warren Buffett's, he always says invest in what you know. But the thing about investing in what you know is going back to who I was, where I knew absolutely nothing. And you have to educate yourself a little bit. So when you start to take an interest in what's happening, if you think about yourself sat at a cafe on a Sunday morning with the papers spread out, instead of me turning to the fashion pages, which is what I want to do, I would just start to, let's just have a little look at the business pages at the back. When I do look at those business pages and I'm thinking, okay, I'm an investor now, I should be looking at these things. I'm interested in things that I know about. I'm not interested in the price of wheat and oil and commodities, but if Facebook is in a lawsuit, or, how many viewers YouTube has got, or, I've got a number of luxury brands in my portfolio as well. So I've got the LVMH, and I used to have Tiffany's before they were purchased. So those are the things that will pique my interest in the front of the paper. I want to read those in the back as well. I don't want to read about oil.
All right, let's get back to your profile. Your risk score. Do you consider your risk score to be fair?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yes, currently your risk score, both average and max, is 4. During the course of the last 12 months, it's been 4 or 5, as you say. Copier numbers and assets under management. Although you've been on the platform a long time, you've only recently come of age as a PI. I think I can work out when you roughly did become a PI, because I see that you had 67 copiers in April 2021 on some video or other. And I think that was just before Editor's Choice. Is that about right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
I would estimate, therefore, that looking at where the Editor's Choice cliff face comes in, you became a PI somewhere near the end of 2019.
I was a PI before that. So what had happened is that my account manager in Australia, Mail, was, calling me all the time and saying, hey, you're doing really well. Do you want to be a PI? And I didn't know that you got paid to be a PI. I didn't know that there was a financial incentive. And I agreed to meet him for coffee. And this is when Mayor also he had an inkling. Actually, no, he didn't have much of an inkling that through the change management that I do, I'm actually really popular on LinkedIn. I've got a big following on LinkedIn. So he didn't really know about some of the other stuff that I did, but I'm quite a lively character compared to a lot of PI. So I met with Mayor and he's like, we can do stuff here. And then he said, you do know you get paid to be a PI. You do know that there's a financial incentive. I'm like, I had no idea. And that, coupled with, do you know how well you do, made me more interested in it. So I met a couple of times, and going back to what you were saying about women investors, eToro is really keen to get more women into investing. So they asked me to help them, to come along and share my story. And I worked with them with Yahoo Women in Finance. So they wanted me to help them with a few events. I'm really passionate about getting women into finance. So I did that. And we were going really well. We were doing well. My copiers, my followers were increasing pretty well, quite good. I'd gone up. This is before Editor's Choice, but I was making quite good gains before COVID. And then we had that week or so where everything crashed. And then I sort of put the brakes on it. And they didn't tell me that I was going to go into Editor's Choice. And I was doing okay. I was getting a small amount as a PI. I was very happy with that. Generally nibbling away, getting more copiers and followers. And then I all of a sudden woke up like, whoa, hang on a minute. why have I got all of these new followers and copiers? Why am I all of a sudden getting 100 questions in my inbox? As I said, I didn't know that was going to happen. And then it started to go crazy. And unfortunately, they only leave you on that for about 3 or 4 weeks.
So as of today, you've got 1,274 copiers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're discussing that how editor's choice was a significant moment in raising that level. How did you enjoy dealing with the tidal wave of beginner questions that come with suddenly being high profile as a result of editor's choice?
Yeah, okay, because I'm a natural helper. And what I did was, again, I dug into what I do for a living, which is you recognize a couple of things here, is that a lot of people are having the same issues. There are a lot of things that people are not understanding, like why, when I copy, why does it not copy all of the open trades? What's the difference between copying existing trades? There's a number of things, and the information is on eToro. They run tutorials, but people don't go looking for that. They have a problem. You're in front of them. They want a solution to that problem. So I sort of dug into the strengths and the skills that I have as in my job as a change manager, and I started to find ways of explaining things. So anybody who looks at my profile will see there are a lot of one-page infographics, so graphical explanations in very simple language of what does this mean. And if somebody has a question, somebody else probably has that question, and that inspires me for another post. So when somebody says, and there are things that we don't anticipate as well, when somebody says, I have closed my trade, but it says that the close is pending. Why is that? And you think, I don't know. Why is that? And then it dawns on you, well, that's because they've closed it and the market isn't open. So then that prompts me to create another one of my posts that say, by the way, if when you close it says pending, it's because of this. So that getting the questions from people helps me to think about the interaction, the conversation starters that you can have with your copiers to help build the relationship.
I think the absence of copy trader education on eToro is one of their weakest points, in fact. On previous episodes, I've talked about how I signed up for Buzzsprout, my podcast host, a couple of months after I signed up for eToro. And when I signed up for Buzzsprout, I got a welcome email which had a link to one video, which I watched, which then led me on to a whole series of welcome videos, which addressed all my major concerns, stopped me making incorrect assumptions, made it an absolute breeze. By contrast, on eToro, you have to do all the work yourself. You have to find the information, usually from somewhere off the platform. And still then, your head is full of incorrect assumptions.
Yeah, and another issue that you've got there. So I've just been involved, again, going back to this Women in Investing, I've just been involved in another women's finance group is running an eToro competition. So she's running a competition where she gets them to go onto the virtual platform, and for a month, they've got 100,000 in their virtual platform, and whoever makes the most money at the end of the month gets a voucher. So I hopped on there and I listened to somebody trying to explain to 500 women how to trade. And a lot of the advice that she was giving about trading, it's not specific to the eToro platform, but as she was explaining it, she was talking about ETFs, she was talking about passive investing, she was talking about active investing, and I'm thinking, they have no idea. They have absolutely no idea. And she's saying, well, of course you can leverage. And I'm thinking, they have no idea what leverage is. They have no idea. And it's like, there's your stop loss, there's your take profit. And people who start on this platform, and this was me, you've got no idea what a stop loss or a take profit is. And one of the challenges that you've got, my husband works in financial services, and I would say to him, babe, what's leverage? And he would explain to me what it was properly. He would give me the proper answer, and I would say, I don't understand that. And we differ, because when I explain leverage to my friend, if it's somebody who, and this is not somebody taking an exam, this is another woman or my kids. I have to explain. I say, leverage, what that is when you play at a pub quiz, and there's a particular round on a pub quiz where if you think you're going to do really well, you play your joker and your points are doubled. I said, that's like leverage. Technically, that's not what leverage is like. But if you think about that in your head, you'll understand. Yeah. Now, unlike a pub quiz, or this is a really interesting pub quiz, because if you don't win that round, they're going to deduct the points for you. But that is what leverage is. It's like playing your joker, playing your double or your triple or your quadruple joker. And what happens is that when you explain something to somebody in terms that they can relate to, even if it's not 100% correct, what they can do is they can get their head around it. And then if they want to go and read more and dig in and understand, at least they know roughly what they're looking for. And if they're going to pass an exam on it, or they're going to tell somebody else, maybe they should go and find out more. But what do people need to know to be able to understand whether it's applicable to them? They just need to know, do I want to do that?
I definitely agree that there's a lot eToro could do to simply explain the basics. I mean, you're talking about individual traders, but this is Copytraders Club, and I'm always thinking of the copy trader point of view.
Yeah.
Just even explaining how copy trading works.
Oh.
How does it work? Video number 1. What is copy trading?
They don't tell us. They don't tell the popular investors. So there are things. So what I would do, so I got my husband to copy me, so I could understand what happens when you do this. So, okay, now are my funds getting used? What happens if you do this much? What happens if you do this much? And I went into my virtual account and I copied people to try to figure out what the hell was going on. Because there's a lot of stuff about adding the funds and copying the open funds and copying and unticking that box. Mm-hmm. We get no education on that. And I have figured it out. And as I figured it out, I educated the people who followed me. But it's really quite complicated, and there's a lot to it. Every time I add funds, today, I am educating people. I have just opened some trades. This is what's going to happen. If you would like to keep your profile synced, this is what you're going to have to do. And the stuff about the minimum copy amount, they don't understand the proportion of the minimum dollar trade. There's a lot that, and it is there. I believe that they do have it there. They have an academy and they run webinars, but people want to access it really quickly and easily, and they want it just in time at their fingertips. When they're confused, they want to be able to see it, have a button and go, okay, help me now. And it's easy for them to reach out to the person that they're copying.
Yeah, I'm not sure they have webinars on all the aspects of copy trading. I think the webinars are very focused on trading.
Are they? Yeah.
And if there was a series of welcome videos that you had to go through, that would address so many of the issues, and then people can know to go back to them.
I agree, yeah.
Trades per week and average holding time. Trades per week around 8. Average holding time 22 months. Is that an accurate reflection?
Trades per week, 5 to 8, I would say, sometimes up to 10, but that's pretty accurate. Average holding time, I have got so much stuff that I have had since day one. So I would say that the average holding time there of the 22 months is that what happens sometimes to me by mistake is if I haven't remembered to turn off the take profit, things will sell because I've reached my 50%. So a lot of the times, the only reason that things have sold is because they've hit 50% profit. And I didn't, originally when I took them out, I hadn't taken off the take profit. I tend to keep things for a long time, unless they're really, really struggling.
And in terms of communication, as you've mentioned, you're very communicative on eToro. You make very nice little graphics. You have some fun often with your communications.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, just recently, I saw one where you were highlighting some of the more humorous questions or misunderstandings.
eToro bingo, yes.
And you've also got a great website, which I will link to in the show notes.
This is quite new. Taking the exam was quite a big step because when I realized that I had to take the exam, you have to pay for the exam. You have to pay for the exam, and it is nearly 200 hours of study. And as I mentioned before, for me, that's 200 hours of hard study. So before I did that, I thought, do I really want to do this? Editor's choice comes up, and then when you go, your copiers steadily fall. And after I put the time in for the exam, and I nearly gave up a few times because I was finding it so hard, thinking, oh, this is just not me. But anyway, I powered on through. And then when you've done that and you've made that investment in your time, you have to think, well, I've really got to go for this now. And you think, but what do I bring? And I bring me. Okay. I really have thought that I need to be on this platform. I need to be me. I need to be somebody that has a chat. I need to be the helpful person, and I need to bring my way of trading. I don't need to pretend that I'm doing all of this analysis. I'm quite proud of myself that I can now read a balance sheet and I can flick over and I can tell you about, what a beta is and things that I wasn't able to do before. And I can have a look at the profit and loss and decide, whether they're right for me. People don't have to be able to do all of that to invest, by the way. And that's what I will continue to do.
Dear listener, just a little pause here to say a few things directly to you. The calendar is full until the end of the year. That will mean 52 episodes, which seems like a good time to pause and call it Season 1 and take stock. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of time and effort, but I'm pleased to be creating something of value for eToro users, particularly Copytraders. Whether there will be a Season 2 depends on a number of factors. I say it elsewhere, but I want to repeat it again here to really encourage a little action from you. If you want to see the podcast continue, you can help by bringing more listeners in. A lot of people still don't know about Copytraders Club, so post about it on your PI's feed in eToro. Mention it on a Facebook group or in whatever Discord groups you're in. That's not too much of an ask, is it? On the podcast apps, there's always a share function that includes copy link. Use that. Or copy the YouTube channel link and share that. Or share a link to your favourite episode. There are many ways to eat an orange. I also have one of those affiliate links for new eToro signups in every episode's show notes. So, if you know someone interested in signing up, please copy and send them that link and help support the show that way. Now, I know these calls to action that you hear on podcasts can easily be ignored, and I always ignore them myself, let's be honest. But this time, I am asking you, as someone who listens to and enjoys this one-person independent podcast, to make a little effort to help it along. You can even press pause and take 2 minutes to do it right now. If you do, know that I am grateful. If you don't, every time you hear this bit, you will be overcome with a crippling sense of guilt and unworthiness. Until you do. Back to the show. Okay, Sharon, let's move on to your portfolio and investing approach generally. Broadly speaking, your portfolio is divided into stocks, 88%, indices, 7%, and crypto, 5%. Are you happy with those proportions?
You know what? If I could go back again, I probably wouldn't have the crypto in there. it tends to be outside my risk appetite, and particularly with my followers as well. So a lot of the crypto that I've got in there, so I've got a lot of Ripple, I've got a little Dash. This is before I was a PI. I had a little bit of fun doubling and tripling, quadrupling Bitcoin in the early days. In, I guess this was 2017, 2018, made quite a bit of money. And then I had this, the investor's worst thing that you can do, your fear of missing out, your FOMO, and your greed to jump in there. And I lost quite a bit of money. And I think you can see 2018, I have a pretty big dip in my history. That's my only really big dip. And it's not for me. I have a different platform where I dabble, $20, $30 on a few different cryptos. But in my real investment portfolio, it does not belong there. It's too high risk. It's too volatile. I don't really understand it. I can't go and have a look at who the CEO is and how they treat their staff. It doesn't fit with my methodology. So I have the stuff in there. I won't get rid of it. There's some stuff hanging around that I'm still losing a lot of money on. I hope that my Ripple and my Dash and my Litecoin will go the same way as Bitcoin, but I would clear those out. If I had the opportunity, I wouldn't bother. Not my thing.
Often when I'm talking to PIs, I'll pick one stock and I will present the bear case. I call it my "Would such a bear give you pause" segment. But can we discuss one of your positions that was questioned in the Felix Falix review, which is the NASDAQ 100?
Yeah.
Did you watch his video?
No, I've not heard of him. I'm going to be looking him up now.
Well, because he's highlighting how NSDQ 100 is a CFD, which you've held since 2019.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is it attracts overnight fees.
Yes.
In a way that the QQQ, which is an ETF, wouldn't.
Yeah.
So he's wondering why that's the situation.
Because I'll have a tax liability if I sell.
Okay. But it's been held since 2019. Would you not be better off selling that, not incurring the fees, and buying QQQ if you wish to?
Maybe that's something that I'll look at. I've only been paying those fees fairly recently. I have not been paying those fees since 2019 because we were not originally charged fees on one-time leverage CFDs because that's how eToro started. So those fees are quite new. So I have had a look at them and I'm looking at, okay, I'm making enough money to justify those fees on those positions. But it is something that I have thought about moving it to QQQ. What do you could say it was QQQ?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is an option. I haven't, as I say, it's only fairly recent, and I haven't given it that much thought. But the main reason for me for not consolidating a number of things, one of the other issues I've got when I've got so many little rats and mice of things like Microsoft and Apple that I've accumulated, one of the things that I could do is that I could sell them all. And I know that I'm going to pay a small amount of spread fees, but I could sell them all and I could consolidate them into larger positions, which would make it easier for people to copy me with less money. But I'll have a tax liability and I'm in a high tax bracket in Australia. So I don't want to pay the tax on those.
Okay, another question he raises is, when you look through your portfolio, so many of your positions are in the NASDAQ.
Yep.
Why have an index given that your portfolio basically is the NASDAQ or a considerable proportion of it? What sort of an impact would owning an index like that have?
Since the fees came in, I haven't invested any more NASDAQ. You'll find, I don't know when the last position that I opened in there, but I don't invest in that at the moment. If the market dips and I don't know where to put my money, that used to be a fairly safe haven for me. I'm thinking, I don't know, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple, which one's going to go in which places. In times of uncertainty, I would, where I'm thinking I've got $2,000 to invest, that would have been somewhere that I previously would have gone. When you talk about me having quite a lot of components of NASDAQ, Sure, but I do cherry pick them. So there are ones on there, like IBM. They're on NASDAQ. I'm not going to choose IBM. They're a high dividend payer. They are not in line with the forward-thinking technology that I'm interested in. So I do have quite a bit of tech stocks, but that's what I know because I tend to work as a change manager as well. I'm in financial services right now, but I tend to work in those organizations in tech positions. So I'm using and promoting Microsoft products all the time. Things like Atlassian team that I've got. This is what I see every day at work. And that's what I want to invest into. So I think that I have cherry picked the forward thinking ones from that index.
Okay, let's go back to something else that you touched upon earlier. You have a fundamental common sense approach, and you say elsewhere that you invest using gut instinct.
Yep.
Now, this is something that came up in that Felix Felix video.
He pulled me over the coals, didn't he?
Yeah, well, that's what he does. But this is one that you can easily respond to, I think.
Yeah.
Because I've heard you said that an investor needs to know their way around a balance sheet and a cash statement and stuff. So you definitely do fundamental analysis and deep research. You're not just acting on gut instinct, correct?
I don't do deep research. Probably not in the way that other investors will do. I'll do a bit of Googling. One of my main research tools is LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn and you look at, so I did this recently with CrowdStrike and Cloudflare. Who are they hiring? What's their value proposition for a new employee? Can they work from home? What are the benefits? How are they attracting talent? What do the employees of that organization post about working in that company? Do they showcase and do case studies with their customers? So this is the side that I'm doing. The thing about your balance sheets is that a great accountant can make those balance sheets say whatever you want. You can move costs from CapEx to OpEx. You can make your organization look really bad. If you're having a bad year, let's make it really bad this year so that we can look better next year. You can cook the books. If you are not doing really well, is that because you're paying great salaries to attract the right staff? Is that because you're putting your money back into our R&D? So I want to have a look at what's going on for the company with the people and the customers and what are they looking forward for? And you find things like this. You find somebody speaking from that company at an event. I'll go to a talk that their CEO is doing about diversity and equality in that organization. That's the type of stuff that I do.
Yeah, you're very people focused and employee focused. That's really your angle.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
And who spends money with these companies? People.
Here's another quote of yours. The things that make you come unstuck are greed and fear. Now, unlike some other PIs I've spoken to who do come across as emotionless, you come across as a very passionate and enthusiastic person. So I can't imagine you don't feel the very natural emotions of greed and fear. How do you cope with them?
The fear that I feel more than anything else is the fear on behalf of my copiers. So, I have a good job. I have savings in other places. If my portfolio loses 20 grand, that's not good. Okay. But that won't be a massive, massive impact for me. Maybe I'll have to work a little bit longer than I was thinking, but it's not the end of the world for me. And I'm happy with the roller coaster and I'm happy with the volatility because I've been doing it for long enough now. But I feel for people who just started to copy me. What if you just started to copy me yesterday and you put 5K in and then you wake up today and the whole market has gone down between 2 and 5% and all of these positions are red? that's what I really feel concerned about. I want to message this person and say, it's okay, this is normal. And you'll see that there's posts there. And I get people disagreeing, and that's fine. I will have posts that I have said, what happens to a market on a daily basis? Most things will fluctuate between 1 to 3.5%. That is normal in either direction. If it goes up 5 or 6%, it's either very volatile or something has happened, like an earnings report. So people need to understand that fluctuations in both directions are normal, and they need to be happy with that. And if they're not, maybe they shouldn't be trading on a platform like eToro, because you don't want them to lose any sleep. You don't want them to worry.
Okay, so you're also a regular depositor. Is that not a con for many of your copiers? Did you see recently Heloise Grief altered her course on depositing because of all the issues that arose from that?
No.
Insofar as if you're always adding funds and copiers, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, position sizes end up changing, you have more cash to attribute than they would.
So are you saying that it's a way of boosting your assets under management?
Well, that's a different issue, that expecting your copiers to always add funds has the effect of boosting your assets under management. All I was saying is it can make the de-sync issue more troublesome if they can't match the funds.
Yeah. And absolutely. And I don't think it's really that important that they stay perfectly synced to you. So because I have been investing for so long, and I've got original trades of things like Apple and Microsoft that I originally got for $25. Most, unless you are investing, I don't know, 50, I haven't done the actual maths, but unless you're copying me with $50,000, $60,000, you're not going to get those. So what you're going to get is you're going to get some Microsoft, some Apples. You're going to get the tech stocks. You're going to get the bits of retail. You're going to get the finance stuff that I've got. You're going to get a sampling thing. You're not having any problems that are different copying me than any ETF is having trying to track the index. Because from my exam, I know about stratified sampling, and, I know about the ways that they do this, and there are tracking errors. And what we're saying is that my copiers have got tracking errors. What my copiers have got is a growing investment that is making them money. That's what they've got. Whether it's exactly synced to mine, who cares? They have got a growing investment that they are continuing to invest in if they want, that is giving them an income. And hopefully, the other thing that I want them to do, I want them to copy me, but I also want them to learn and start placing their own trades. And I think that a lot of other PIs wouldn't get them to do that. They're like, no, copy me. Copy me, learn from me, get confident, and do your own stuff. If you like oil and wheat, go and buy oil and wheat. So you've copied me for some tech stocks, go somewhere else, copy somebody else for your crypto, copy somebody else. People ask me, what do you think about this and this and this? I go, I'm not interested in.
Well, I'm sure the listener's interested in hearing all about your best investment.
The one that has got the best growth is a little one that I'm very fond of with Shopify, which I think I've only had about 3 or 4 years, and it's up about, you might have to go and check it, but it's over 1,200%. Over 1,200% from that little $80 trade. And this is interesting because people think that you have to do the cryptos to get this massive gain. And I've got quite a few. I've got some Apple and some Microsoft that are really, 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 up in 800%. Taken time, but you can achieve these growths without going into very high risk stocks.
Which leads us on nicely to ask about your worst ever investment.
My $10,000 that I put on Bitcoin when I didn't understand what spread was, or I didn't even know that there was spread. So what I had done, I'd been like, this is the greed thing. I'd been doubling and tripling $200, $300, $400, $500 on Bitcoin. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take a massive chunk of my savings and I'm going to put it in here. And I put it in there, and immediately, because there was a huge spread, immediately went down quite a bit. And I didn't understand that there was a spread. All I could see was $10,000 was all of a sudden 9,200 or something like that. And of course, it's very volatile. So what I did was like, oh, somebody's just told me that it shouldn't be in Bitcoin. It should be in Bitcoin Cash. So I moved it from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, getting another spread fee. And I think in a matter of minutes I was down, $2,000, and I'm like, okay, this is not for me. This type of trading is not for me.
And how would you summarize the lessons learned from that?
Stick to your strategy. That type of thing was outside my strategy. My strategy is, Sharon, what do you know? What do you know? What do you're interested in? What do you use? I use Facebook. I watch Netflix. I drink Verve. I shop in Costco. What do you know? What can you see? What do you like? Invest in that. And then all of a sudden, what's this techie crypto stuff that everybody seems to be in? Okay, you've gone down that road, you know nothing about it, and you've got your fingers burned. So it's go back to have a strategy, and whether your strategy is daily or whether it's long term or whether it's a year, decide what it is and stick to it. For the most part, unless there's something catastrophic happening, stick to it because that's what you've decided and follow it through.
Okay, let's shift gears a little here and talk about your copiers. Who should copy you?
New investors. I think that I might be a bit annoying for an experienced investor with all of my posts popping up saying this is what leverage is. So people who are starting out, people who want to gain confidence, people who are investing, not people who are trading. If they would like to be with me for a year to learn and then go off and do their other thing or find a more suitable PI, that's absolutely fine. But people who want to have a good success, because I'm 30 was yesterday, 35% yesterday, 55% last year, 43% the year before. I'm doing well at a low risk, but I'm also going to handhold them and I'm going to help them to achieve the results. That's who should copy me, newbies.
And let's talk about the kind of copiers that shouldn't copy you.
Day traders, people who are interested in crypto, and anybody who really knows what they're doing, And I think there are so many people who pretend to know what they're doing and they have no idea what they're doing, as you can just go and see looking at their portfolios. But, people who want to hold positions for a short amount of time should not copy me.
Is there a right way or a wrong way to copy you?
The right way to copy me is to get on board for at least 6 months. Because what happens is that people copy and then at the first little downturn, you get one red month and then they leave. And what they don't realize is that by doing that, they're going to be, and if they go somewhere else, they're going to be losing their money with spread fees. And this is just going to happen. So it doesn't matter where you are, things are going to drop down and then they're going to go back up again. So, you want people to realize this is a little bit of a roller coaster. It's not a flat race. There's the hills in this, and you should stick with me. Don't leave when it goes a little bit red for a little while. Even 2-3 months is going to come back.
Again, that's another subject that could be a video to show to a new copier. When you join a copy, you'll be immediately in the red, regardless. Don't panic. It may take a little while for you to come out of that. And if the market conditions aren't favorable, you might be red for a while. Don't freak out at the first sign of red, because if you become a hobby copier, it's death by 1,000 cuts, as Robert Merck says. And so many of them do that.
And there are people that just should not be on eToro. There are people who just don't have the stomach for it. I had somebody at work in a different company that I worked at, they introduced to eToro, and she invested a couple of $100, and she was texting me at all hours. Microsoft has gone down. Should I move it to Google? Oh my God. Get out. This is not for you. This is not for you. It's like opening the fridge and checking whether the food in it is different every hour of the day. This is not for you. You have to, as a PI, you've got to pop on and have a look at least every day or every couple of days. But for everybody else, maybe once a week or even once a day in the morning, or maybe at 3:00 in the afternoon, not sitting staring at it, because that's just going to stress you. That's just going to stress you out. So there are lots of ways to grow your money. And eToro, one of the things that eToro is a social trading platform. It gives you the power, and it should be fun and enjoyable. And if it's not fun and enjoyable, put it somewhere else.
Okay, what changes would you like to see on eToro?
I would like to make some really great educational videos for them. I would like to do that. And there are a couple of other, we had a women's investment call, and there's another great educator called Mama Furfur. She has some really cool stuff on.
I know her.
Yeah. And we were talking, she has offered to make them some educational videos as well. She's got some really nice stuff on our YouTube channel. I don't know whether it's the language issue. If we were to make them, how do they translate them? Do they subtitle them? I don't know. I would like to see some more education on there for new people. I enjoy it. I just like it. And it'll be good when we get some Aussie stocks on there as well.
You mentioned earlier you do lots of promo stuff for eToro in Australia.
Yeah.
Particularly around women in finance. How do you feel about their advertising message when it comes to the potential female market?
It's really challenging for them, very challenging, because what do you do? Do you chase a small market just because it's the right thing to do? They're making money, and this is the same as when people moan about their spread fees or moan about things. At the end of the day, eToro is a company. They need to make money. We are customers, and we're paying them for a service. And with their advertising, it would be great if they could attract more women, and they are trying to do that. But you pick the low-hanging fruit. What I find with women is that they want to know it all. So at the beginning, I was just telling you about me putting 10 grand on Bitcoin and not even understanding what a spread was. And there's even things that I'm still learning now. It wasn't until I took the exam that I really understood what beta was. And I'm still learning. You do not have to know it all in order to be successful at trading. So you will come unstuck if you start to do short selling or if you start to do leveraging and you don't really understand. But to pick an ETF or to pick a company that you know and say, I want to invest $200 in that and I'm going to leave it. You don't need to know anything. Women feel that they need to know everything about it in order to get on, whereas guys were like, oh yeah, it's like betting on a horse, I'll do that. So I think more should be done to make it accessible for women. And I know that they're trying. And I've been on a couple of marketing calls. There's some stuff that's taking place in Europe where they're trying to do this. But, you can't blame them for making money by targeting their audience.
Well, I'm sure there's space for some sort of advertising approach which shows that there's something for everyone. You can have mummy investing, daddy investing, young kid doing his crypto, granny copying Sharon Connolly.
Yeah, we've just got we've got a fairly new platform in Australia called Superhero, which is based on Aussie stocks, and it's not, there's not as so much in there. They've just done a TV advertising campaign, and their TV advertising campaign is you don't have to wear a suit to trade. And you see a guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt walking through an office. He's walking through an office full of men. There are two women in that office, and those women are dressed in male suits. So again, you've got this share trading app with a TV ad which 100% focuses at men. again, you're thinking, you're not speaking to any women. But again, I know who's going to work with us. That's who we're gonna target. So I know, and that's the same. It's the same issue that we have about getting women in the workplace into tech or into finance, any finance roles. So it's slowly changing. We've all got to chip away at it, and hopefully somebody like me can help.
You said at the start of your story, you didn't know what eToro was, really. You didn't know if you could trust it. That's still the message I get when I mention eToro to people often. Have eToro done a good job of building trust in the platform over all of those years? Or what more could they do?
No. A copier asked me this, and the same as I said before, a copier asked me this question and I turned it into a post, is eToro safe? Now, one of the things, working in financial services myself, I know that if your bank goes bust, in Australia, individual investors are protected for $250,000. The government will cover them for that. And I've done my research, and it's pretty similar in most countries in Europe. The amount changes, but in order for a company to trade in a country, they have to sign up with a regulator. So in Australia, it's ASIC. So I know if eToro goes bust, $250,000 I'm covered for. eToro provides me with additional insurance as a PI up to $1 million. But people don't know this. They have no idea that eToro is strictly regulated, very, very strictly regulated about what they can and what they can't do. And that's one of the reasons that we have to take the exam as well, to ensure that people who are copying people, we need to know what we're doing to some degree. People don't trust it because they don't understand how it's regulated. They don't know what they're covered for. And there's still this whole smoke and mirrors around a financial advisor or a trader that they're doing something different than what we're doing on eToro. They're not. They're doing the same as we're doing. You've got people on eToro, if they're short selling and they're leveraging, who are the equivalent of hedge fund managers. You just have another guy who's sat in a fancy office with a little business card that says, I'm a hedge fund manager, but you've got somebody on eToro who's doing exactly the same thing.
If you were a copy trader, what would your approach be?
So I would look for somebody, you're going to read somebody's bio. You're going to be looking for a solid history of results. I'm not bothered if somebody has not had the best year or they've had a couple of low months, that's fine. But I'm looking for a good track record, and I'm looking for a good return on the investment for a relatively low risk score.
Does that apply to all of the PIs that would be in your portfolio? How many would there be?
I think what I might do as well is that I might choose some diverse PIs. It depends what my strategy is. It depends if I'm looking to make money within a month, I'm going to follow somebody higher risk who's got a lot of crypto. Or if I'm looking for growth over 3 years, I'm going to copy somebody. And there's quite a lot of them that have got portfolios similar to myself. I look with interest at some of those that do this in-depth technical analysis, and they've got all of these charts, and I look and I think, your results are not that great for the amount of work that you seem to be putting in, and I think, am I just lucky year after year after year after year after year after year, maybe 1 or 2 months to have this fundamental, what I call common sense approach, versus this head in all of the books and the spreadsheets, but I seem to be continually lucky.
Okay, what other PI would you say you know the best on a personal level?
I don't know any of them. I've been on a call with Eloise in a women's call, but I don't actually know any of them.
You've never met any in the flesh?
No. We don't have that many in Australia. And Australia is really big. So if we did have any, they might live, I might have to fly 5 hours to see them. So when I've done events like the Yahoo Women in Finance, I'm the only eToro person there. And in fact, when I've been to an event, So I've been to this was before COVID, when I've been to some cool events with the guys at eToro, but went to the rugby. I've met other investors, but I've never met popular investors there. And I think it's just because we don't have that. We have hardly any in Australia.
Okay, Sharon, final question. If you were in my shoes, what question would you like to have asked yourself that I didn't?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have no idea. I know. I think I might have been tempted to say, Sharon, do you really know what you're doing? Are you making all of this stuff up? Are you just lucky and are you just making all of this stuff up? And I would say, do you know what, Gavin? Everybody's making it up. Everybody. There's a very fine line between a thought leader and an imposter. Just decide which side of the line you stand on.
Very good. Well, on that note, Sharon, I don't think you're an imposter. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. It's very sad that I only got one glass of champagne.
Wow. After the recording, we can finish the bottle.
Jasmine, bring me another.
There you go. That was Sharon Connolly. You can't be an imposter if you're being yourself. That's all from me. You can continue the conversation on Discord and Facebook. If you like this podcast and want to see it continue, you can do your part by recommending it to one person or group of people this week. Until next time we meet at Copytraders Club, I wish you many happy returns. Obviously, anything you hear in this podcast is for entertainment only, no financial advice. Do your own research. This is just generic chit-chat. We don't know your individual circumstances, etc., and so forth.